Hi, I'm Rachel Klaver, your content marketing coach for small business owners. This is a podcast where we simplify marketing, make it feel achievable, and give you the tools that you need to connect with your ideal clients. I'm here to show you how to create confident, consistent content that not only reflects who you are, but also helps you grow your business authentically. And today I'm joined by Tiffany Bartlett. She's an email smart marketing specialist who helps service-based businesses like coaches, consultants, agency owners build trust and authority through email. Do you also do e-commerce, Tiffany, or just mainly that side, the service-based?
Just service-based, yeah.
Yeah, because e-commerce is a whole kettle of fish. It's totally different. So we're going to look and dive deep into the magical world of welcome sequences, which I am such a huge believer in. And in fact, thinking about today's podcast, I was like, I think I'm going to need to make sure I fix something on one of ours because we've got a new thing going at the moment. They're foundational emails and they set the tone of the relationship you're going to have with that person all the way through. So if you're not sure where to start those emails, or if you feel like what you've got hasn't been paying off, this is the episode for you. Tiffany's here to demystify those welcome sequences and share her strategies for making them work. And what I love about this is I have my own idea about what I teach as well. And I like this because we might have some similarities and differences, and we can kind of talk about what those are, because there's more than one way to skin a cat, but sometimes there's better ways. Shouldn't have said skin a cat. Sorry, everybody. That was terrible. Not PC. Okay, so we're going to cover what a welcome sequence is, why you need one, how long it should be, and then some common mistakes to avoid. So I hope this is really helpful to you. I'm excited about it. I know this is a powerful thing. You will get clients. If it works well, that welcome sequence should often convert some of the people that are quite hot in your list. So tune in, stop feeling overwhelmed about those welcome sequences, understand why they're powerful. And before we start, Tiffany, I'm going to get you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself. Is that all right?
Yeah, no, definitely. So, hi, I'm Tiffany. I am an email marketing specialist. Some people have called me a data detective, and my latest little LinkedIn handle is Welcome Sequence Scientist, and there's a story behind that. I used to work in science, so that's why I love data. And so I help service-based businesses create a strong first impression and build trust, authority, and connection, and book calls through welcome sequences.
Nice. So it's really specific. Like you do actually focus mainly on welcome sequences.
Yeah. So I do have other offers, but I'm seeing there's so many small businesses that don't have that welcome sequence set up. And it's such a bad experience for the subscriber when they go straight into a promo email.
Or go straight into nothing, which happens a lot.
Exactly. I do offer email marketing strategies for those people because while I don't do the emails, your weekly newsletter for you, I do give you everything you need for 13 emails to get started. So it's a very comprehensive strategy. So I look at all the fundamentals. You're a strategy pro. You know what goes into a strategy. But for the audience, it's centered around the business, so their values and their goals and the audience. And well, when I say it's centered around the business, it's centered around the client, but the audience, but the business's audience. And so, yeah, goals, audience, business, so where they are in the market, what their USP, so unique selling proposition is, and I do an audit, and so you come away with a plan for those 13 emails and an audit. So all the hard stuff is done for you.
Nice.
But I find a lot of people come to me for the welcome sequences. That's the main thing.
So just, can we take a step back for a second? Because I do want to talk about the welcome sequences, but I've had 3 one-on-one sessions this week with coaching clients, so not my not my group, but two of them, which are new clients, they've both got massive client bases, like massive, but their email list is under 500. And they've been going for years. And one of the things I thought we should talk about a little bit here is that what they've been doing is essentially encouraging new customers to opt out. And what I mean by that is they've been saying, do you want, when they say this, when someone comes in, they say, do you want to join our email list? Like when they're talking to them. And if I was asked that question, if I was in a shop or working with a business owner and I was asked that question, I think my default would always be no. You know? And so I said, why are you asking them that? Like in New Zealand, there's implied consent. It's very different here, isn't it, to overseas? Like if you're a customer here, it's kind of assumed that you'll go on that person's email list.
It is. I must admit, I'm different from a lot of email marketers in the sense that, like locally, in the sense that I'm a little bit picky about consent. I don't really want people on my list unless they want those emails. I think it's important to make every attempt to get them on that list. So I would say in that circumstance, perhaps it's less about, do you want to hop on my list? It's like, I've got this great resource. Can I send it to you?
Which is what we've recommended. And that's what I mean, though. Like, I feel like they are, if someone said, do you want to be on my email list? I would say no. If someone said, do you want to have, I've got a whole bunch of tips I've got around this particular thing, or you mentioned you need this, I've got something, would you like to sign up and get it? And I give you a series of emails about it. I'd say yes to that. So it's just about reframing it, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And you do want those clients on your list because they can be, it varies, but they can be engaged and you can upsell them into something as well.
But also they become your referral network.
Yes.
Like they remember. And it was really cool. I was talking to a client this morning who we were just doing like a kind of a finished session. And I said, how the email's going. And he said, every single email we send out, we get about 2 to 3 new clients out of. And they weren't doing any email before that. And these aren't like tiny jobs. These are thousands and thousands of dollars worth of jobs. Every single email they've sent out over the last 3 months, and I make them do weekly, they have had got work from it. Like that's a massive return.
Massive. And that is the power of email. Like, as you know, it is, when you get it right, it really, really works.
Yeah, it does. It really does, which is awesome. Okay, so let's start right at the basics. What exactly is a welcome sequence and why does it differ from other types of email campaigns?
So basically, if you imagine that somebody came to your door and they knocked on the door, you either, if you don't have a welcome sequence, they're left hanging at the door. Really awkward. If you come to the door, you're going to go through a series of natural questions and a conversation where you get to know each other. And so a welcome sequence is like that connection and taking them through a journey. So they get to know who you are, what you care about, how you how you've helped other people like them, but not in like a pitchy way, not like buy my vacuum cleaner. So yeah, it's basically they complete an opt-in form where they put their name and their email address and they get their incentive. So assuming that they're going through the typical journey, which is sign up for a workbook with 47 ways to grow your email list. And so they will complete that. Your email system will automatically send those emails in a certain time frame over the next week that takes them through that journey and brings them from, I didn't even know who you are, to, I've got a good idea who you are and what you do and all that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Because here we've already discovered that you and I have some different terminology, which is awesome. Because I call this a nurture sequence. And I call a welcome sequence when you've got a new customer and you send them new things, or you've got someone who has just subscribed and you send them a series of emails. So I love this because we've already worked out like a little way that marketers sometimes use different language.
Yeah.
So I would love to know, actually, let's just talk about this. I'm going to skip a bit. So I have a reasonably set framework of how I structure that nurture sequence or welcome sequence and how many emails I do. Let's swap. How many emails would you normally on average put in there?
So the ideal is between, well, it really depends on your, like, how much of an investment it is and everything. But typically I say 4 to 6. Some people that have a more kind of complicated offer, high ticket, you can stretch it out to like 10. But things start to drop off a bit. You have to have a really good sequence. You have to really know your audience and really nail that. So I generally say 4 to 6. So if I was thinking about this morning, I have frameworks for 4 to 6, but most of the people that I've worked with so far have started on 4. And then they can build it up from there once we know a little bit more, and that can be handled in like a refresh project.
Because do you have a set time frame as well, like what the frequency is?
So I run them daily for a week, but sometimes that can be a lot for some people. So sometimes you can test running them every second day, but I wouldn't do anything more than that. Typically, I would go daily.
So this is so cool. So mine's different to this. And that's why I love having a conversation about it, because I think that I have suggested daily or every second, but to be honest, for most of my clients and for me, I do it on a 0, 4, 7, 11, 14, 21, 28 cycle. So it's over a month. So it's 6 emails. So that's quite different. And it just shows like there's like, you can have like 2 things that work really well, but they're different ways of doing it. So I love that. I think that's so cool. So you've got the welcome sequence. We've got that. And I love that it's like 4 to 6. I think that's right. I have got one that I think I did that was for quite a massive offer. And I think that had like 26 emails, but it was almost like there was a couple every week and then it went out weekly, but it had lots of value adds, like it was tips, so it was a lot less selling. It wasn't very selly. Like I agree with you. It doesn't want to feel like it's a pitch fest every time you do it. Which I've noticed that if you try and get ChatGPT to do it, ChatGPT just always wants to put the selling in. Like if you're giving it a structure, it always wants to do too much selling. I think maybe because it's American. I don't know. Culturally in New Zealand, it's not great for us. So why do you think that so many people don't have one? Like, why do you think they miss out on it? Because, do you help them with the lead generation, like the thing that you're giving them away? Do you give them ideas for that, or do they have to create that themselves? Is that part of what you do?
So currently I don't help with the lead magnets. I have made them in the past, but currently that's not part of the package. So I tend to prefer to have them have a validated lead magnet.
And can we just briefly talk on that? Like, what are some good things that you think are good? Like you mentioned before, it might be your lead magnet with the 47 ways to grow your email list, for example. What are good lead magnet ideas? Generally, like not like obviously so like having a list, like a really big list of ideas is a good lead magnet. What other things do you think make a good lead magnet?
So there are lots of different options. Personally, and this is not something I have done much of, but I want to, I would love to do like a quiz.
I've just developed one. It's coming live. It's just getting designed. Mine is find your marketing overwhelm block. So basically they go through a thing and then they get rated. This is where it's massive though, because what I wanted to do was make it customized. So there's I think there's 8 different types. I can't remember. And they go through a list, and then they cut spits out with which one they have the biggest block in, and then they automatically get emails just about that block.
Perfect.
That's been such a big job. I have got 4 other people working on it with me. Like, I did all the kind of creative and blocking it, and then I've got someone who made the quiz, someone who's designing the quiz, someone who did the tech stuff, someone who's putting so all the sequences in. So it is, and that's why I've avoided it. I think it's a really great way to grow a list, but it's such hard work.
Yeah. It's massive. Small businesses, chances are they're not going to go for that.
I think a download is good. Checklists are good. I use a lot of checklists. Not a workbook. I have a funny thing about video. Like, a lot of people do, like, I'm going to do a free webinar stuff, but I would never read it. I'd never watch it myself. So maybe it's a block for me. I don't know about you, but I think when I say things like, download this 5-part video series, like, I've tried them, and people just don't go past the first email of those because they just don't. It's too much to act on.
Yeah, it is a lot. I suppose that's kind of so with a video, I think that's quite good for certain audiences. But like a 5-part series, way too much. Like, people like the short content, and I'll say that with a download as well. Is if you give them like a massive thing to read, they're probably not going to read it. So I
can use it. So, like, I've got one that's massive. It's 28 pages and it's got stuff in it. But I made it like that I'm sorry, everyone that's downloaded it. I know this is the marketing fix, but I downloaded it to do 2 things. One, to filter out the people who actually would be able to walk the way through it and actually resolve it themselves. And then I also did it so that anyone that was on page 6 or 7 went, oh shit, I have no idea what she's talking about. And then they'd get in touch with me. And that has been very successful. I often get someone who'll download it and then 2 days later message me and go, no, I've been started working through it. I'm too overwhelmed now. I know I need you to do it. That's exactly what it was for. So you can purposely be mean. That sounds terrible. Sorry, I wasn't manipulating. I'm not manipulating. But you can purposely do that as a strategy.
Yeah, and I love that, actually. That is...
that was the strategy.
Yeah, it's a good one. I wouldn't say it's necessarily manipulating.
No, it was more I didn't want to have people who could sort their own shit out. Like, I was like, if I can give this to you and you can work it out, well, I'm not needed. So let's get rid of you. And you'll at least go, man, that was a good resource. I'm going to rate Rachel. Like, so I kind of was like, that was the high kind of ethos. But I did get a lot of people who go, oh, hey, I'm just on page 5, or I got to page 8 and I realized I just can't do this myself. And that's perfect because that's who I'm best to work with.
Absolutely.
But generally, I agree, short and sweet.
Yeah. And that's knowing your audience as well.
Mm.
So
I think so.
I think with a video, like, it has to be a certain type of video. And I think you're more likely to drop off in a video depending on how valuable it is and how it's structured. I'm not a video editor. I have done a lot of, like creating videos and stuff like that. But it's a different skill set. So I've actually worked out, because I've done them before, I would prefer a written resource because I think it's easier for people to work through.
I also think there's something about a written resource that's printed. I know this isn't sustainable, but when you have something in your hot little hands, it's a tangible proof that that person exists. And we have so little of those things, especially with us more in a virtual sort of space. I also think with video, it's like, I think about like TikToks, often people are only watching the first 2 or 3 seconds. It is really easy to lose people. And I think it's a higher intent. So I go free resource, and then to the people that have downloaded that, now you've got that, watch this webinar with me or watch this free resource. And then that's another way to pitch back to them. But doing that as the first thing feels a little bit like, say, going to the front door, opening it and trying to kiss the person at the front door without introducing yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that analogy.
Kind of like it is. It's like just going like way into the relationship, like, hey, I'm in your face now. And I just think most of us aren't ready for that. I'm not ready for that. And I'm ready to like build like ADHD. I can build those connections fast, but I just don't want to like feel like I've got that person. Because also you don't know in that video if they're going to jump into a massive sales pitch, so you're not able to filter it. And then you feel like angry that you've given your time up and trusted something. And I think that also can be quite a tricky thing because it's a harder thing to get over if it's been in a video. Okay, so why do you think small business owners and service-based business in particular, why do you think they don't do this? Because it's such a good thing to do, right?
Absolutely. One, I think, and this is what I've been told, is, I never knew that existed.
Oh, really? That's so interesting.
Yeah. And then secondly, I'm not good with tech. I don't know how to do it. And that's where, that's where you get the questions like how many emails, how do where in this system, I don't want to log in kind of stuff comes in.
I do think there is those barriers, like there's the tech barrier, there's the content barrier, like the skill level, there's the having a barrier about your own relationship with email. And then there's the whole, is it just another admin-y marketing job when I don't want to do those jobs anyway? I think it's so many of those things where it's hard. And I'm amazed at how many people, I think a lot of people have a download on their website. Like quite often I'll say, you've got a download here. And they're like, great. And I said, so are you collecting emails? No. Or, yeah, cool. So have you got an email sequence? No, I didn't know I was meant to do that. So I think like they get part of the message, but don't understand that the actual power isn't the lead generation, it's that welcome sequence afterwards, eh?
Absolutely. I have definitely encountered that as well.
Yeah.
Is they'll have and I don't recommend this at all, is they'll have the opt-in and pop, here's your PDF.
Like why? Because if they've put Gmail instead of Gmail, or I had one that was spam@spam.com. Like they'd literally tried to put a fake email address in there, so they don't get it. Like if you can't type it, you ain't getting it. You're paying me with your email for this thing. So and I know that probably one of my favorite things, I know because you're into the data and stuff, but the whole point of sending it to their email address is it means that now when they've opened that one, which is the one they're most likely to open, it means your other ones are going to get delivered into their inbox.
Yeah, much, much higher chance. Yeah.
So so I'm with you on this one. So thinking about like what it's working with, and we've talked about that it should be a minimum for, 4 to 6 and doing that. Should they be quite short emails or quite long? Like what is your preference? Because I've seen quite big differences, and I think mine, I can write really long emails, but mine are often quite short because otherwise I think I start waffling and trying to bring in too much stuff. But what's your preference when you're getting them written?
So when I write welcome sequences, I always, any emails, I prefer short. So, however, it should be long enough that you can, short and long enough that you can get the message across. So you don't want, if you can get the message across quite quickly, great. If you need a little bit longer, that's great. But just don't, like the novella, you have to have real skill to be able to hold the attention all the way through the email. So especially now.
It has to be able to, it has to flow like a story if you're going to do it long. And I think the other thing is that the longer it gets, the more you're likely to bring other things in that it causes a distraction. I was working with someone recently, and she thought she couldn't write. She writes these amazing emails, but she sent me one to check, and I said there was 5 or 6 different themes in the same email. Like it was beautiful. It was written with emotion. But she kept on shifting that by the time I got to the offer, which she'd put at the end, I was so tired from all the emotional journey I'd been on with her that I was over even thinking about it. And I try and read my emails the way the customer would read them, and sometimes I have cried or I've been moved to tears or laughed with the person. But as soon as I start to drop because they've switched off or they've tried to be too clever or put a too fancy analogy in there or jargon, I can tell that it's not going to work. So it should be quite short. Yeah, I agree with you. Short and sweet.
Yeah, one goal. My priority is one goal.
You and I are the same. Yeah. Do not have all these links to your website. I was going to say stupid website, to your stupid blogs on your stupid website, your beautiful blogs to your beautiful website. But no one wants that. They already know you exist. They're on your email list. They never have to go to your website again unless ever. Unless you're selling a product, and we're talking to service-based businesses, so we're okay. Okay, so you, quite nice and short, which is really good. And I think this welcome sequence should be quite short too. Do you have like a different theme type for those welcome sequences, or do they always have a good call to action? Like, do you change the intensity of the call to action through those emails? Like, how does it work for you?
That's a really good question. So each email, I have a persona in mind. And I have the goal in mind. And then, so the CTA, the CTA isn't the same for every single client.
That's call to action, folks, by the way. That's call to action.
Need a marketing strategy, but you're tight on time and budget? In just 2 days, I can help you create a marketing strategy and an action plan that has everything mapped out for you for the following year in every area of marketing. Plus, we'll have gone deep into who your target audience is, what your offer is, and all those other important things you need to know to get that marketing right. How are we going to do that? Well, you can come along and be part of the Map It Marketing Intensive. It's with a small group of like-minded business owners. We're running them across New Zealand in different areas, and I'd love you to be part of it. Plus, this is an approved program through the Regional Business Fund, so funding may be available to help you attend. Bonus, if you want to plan, if you want to have something that's highly practical, I'd love you to join me, Rachel Klaver, on the Map It Marketing Intensive. See you there.
CTA is a call to action. I'm just telling the audience.
Oh, yes.
Just means the thing that you want them to do. Yeah, so your CTA is a bit different depending on those things.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Pretty much every single time it's going to be different. It has to, because I like to really nail the brand voice, it has to sound like it's them. Otherwise, I mean, what's the point?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is so true. And do you feel like there are, have you done it with people who've already tried their welcome sequences and they're going, I've already written one and then I don't know why it's working? Do you see some common mistakes or common things that happen in theirs over and over again? Like, we might have touched on some. I'm assuming that because you said that thing about the one thing, people who've just put too much stuff in them. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. So definitely, so having too many goals, not having the one goal, one destination, and also the way they format the emails. I'm not into, because this is service-based, it's mostly text,
Yes, it's hardly any images.
Yeah, no image only here.
No.
That sends you to spam.
It does, yeah.
And so it's also bad for accessibility as well, depending on how savvy you are. But anyway, they have to be broken up. So when people open your emails, chances are, not always, but chances are they're doing it on a mobile. So if you design it or you write it on a desktop and you think, oh yeah, it looks good, you open it on a mobile and your paragraph is like this. Yeah. It's so hard to read.
It's such a hard thing to remember. You almost have to bro poetry it, Like, it almost has to be a sentence like a short sentence as the paragraph. And it's very hard to break out of that habit until you see your own email and go, oh my gosh, this looks like a freaking mess.
Yeah, absolutely. And always, this comes up in copy editing as well, is like if I write something with that in mind, so that it's all kind of spaced out a little bit, so you've got the bite size. Sometimes, and it's really good to get the feedback, but sometimes the client will have their expert hat on and they're like, oh yes, I want to put this in. And that's when it starts to blow out and you're like, okay, let's just break this up.
Yeah, because you do have to filter out, like you can't put everything in the email, because the whole point of them getting in touch with you is for you to basically, I call it an anal butthole finder. Sorry, everybody. But it's basically like you're trying to like find the holes or find the, but I don't understand this bit, or I don't, kind of like a gap filler, isn't it? So you got to give people a little bit of goodness, but not everything. So they go, that little bit of goodness might be enough, but it might be something that goes, oh, I kind of get it, but now I need more. And that's the whole point, isn't it?
Curiosity.
Yeah, curiosity. Because okay, so that's one of the big mistakes, is that link sort of thing, and also kind of just like the going into deep with too many options. Are there any other things that you? Obviously, we talked before about how some people just don't have them, or they might just have one email. Why do people have to have more than one email?
Because it's taking them through a journey. For one, if you get one email, you've got to cram a whole lot to take them through a journey into that email. Whereas if you break it out over those emails, it's so much more digestible. It's a pleasant experience. It can be aligned with the goal and meet them where they are. So not everybody that joins your list is going to be at the same stage. So you've got the, whether they're aware of you or whether they're just aware of the problem that they've got. You've got whether they're aware of the solution or not. So you're taking them through that journey. So A, they're getting to know you, but B, they're following a process or an experience to meet with them where they are.
Yeah, because I've got one of my goals this year is to grow my list by over 200%. So like it's quite a massive goal. Our list has grown very slowly over the last few years. We're sitting at around 2,800 active subscribers, but I want it to be a lot bigger. And one of my changes, and this is where that's interesting, is most people that downloaded things from me have some awareness of who I am. But if I do a quiz or I do something like that, I can't accept that they'll know who I am. They may have very little knowledge of who I am. And so it's funny you should say that, because I've never had an introductory email in my welcome sequences or nurture sequence. I've never had something about, hi, my name's Klaver, this is a bit about me. But I was literally just thinking about this morning, thinking, I'm going to have that in this one, because they're going to need to know who I am and what I'm like, because that will be their first filter. They'll be going, oh, hell yeah, I love the idea of a 50 plus ADHD content coach. Or they'll go, oh, hell no, I'm getting out of here fast. I need them to make that decision, right? So that's where that welcome sequence, sometimes you do need to have the introduction in there if you're going into growth.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So everyone's at different stages of business. And you are very, very visible. So I can understand how you haven't had that. But yes, absolutely. As you expand your reach, like I don't know whether you're looking at expanding or already in Australia.
Yeah, so doing that, but also if I'm doing it with meta ads, like if I'm paying ads for people to get my downloads, which I haven't really done a lot of before, I have to do that as well, because it's such a big jump. And so it is thinking, like, if you're going to put your space in a place where you're basically like this little tiny fish in a massive pond or ocean, you have to think, how am I going to get that person warmed up to me? You can't just jump in, because they're like, who the hell are you to talk about such and such? I don't know who you are. I don't trust you. I know nothing about you. So I love the idea of you saying that that's a part of it, because that is that customer journey of kind of what I call notice stage of like, hey, you've noticed this quiz, but let's now notice me. And then if you like that, let's connect in terms of like trusting, and here's some how-to information and tips. And then I'm going to, develop that trust and authenticity. And then if you want to work with me, you're here. So I love that journey that you're talking about through the emails, because that's amazing.
Yeah. Trust. Thank you. Trust is a big thing for me. I think it's a big thing for brands, but especially going into this year, like people, I was just chatting with somebody on LinkedIn. I'd shared a few hooks that I'd found in my, so subject lines, I'd found in my inbox. And someone made an amazing comment about, I'm so sick of the kind of tactics that, someone's trying to be smart and everything, rather than something that's authentic. And I'm just seeing it everywhere, like trust. Everyone's sick of the whole kind of, strike notifications, bro marketing stuff. It's just, we need to build trust.
It's interesting because we obviously probably see some sort of stuff on LinkedIn. And one of the things a lot of people are asking is, how do you stand out with everyone else using AI? And the simplest voice for that is just the more you talk in your own normal voice, the better it works. Like, I love it because for years I felt that my voice didn't have enough of the flashy words. But now ChatGPT just uses flashy words. The best thing that ever happened to me is I can just use my normal voice.
Absolutely.
And it stands out.
If you have, as soon as I read in this fast-paced digital world, I just want to bang my head on the desk.
Yes. In this fast-paced
Unlock,
digital world.
engage. Like, some of those words are, people use, which is really sucks if that's something you were using and now you just sound like AI. But those are just so obvious, and it's just, and then when they meet you, they're going to be like, oh, you sound different.
Yeah. You don't sound like a robot. I know, it is kind of crazy. So I think that definitely a common mistake I think that people would make is to allow ChatGPT to write all their emails. Like, you can ask, I love what ChatGPT can do for two things, which is give structure to an email, and also I often ask it to sense check. So one of the things I will do is, say if I've written a column or a blog or an email, I'll often go, can you just read through and see, did I add something in here that I didn't need to add? Because I'm too emotionally invested to see it. So I'll get it to pull it out, like tell me where it is. But I won't get it to write my content, because it's just not going to write it the right way.
Yeah, there's massive backlash about that. Like, people, like big brands and their ads that are AI, it's just, people don't feel connection with it. They can tell. And it's just not, sure, maybe if it can help you get the ball rolling with an idea or something, but use it as a tool. And I love, that's what I use it for as well, is sense check. Is there something here that's not aligned, or just to help improve rather than right.
Yeah, and actually the other thing I do, which I love, and I've actually done it for my coaching clients, and they know I do it, so they're not going to be like, aha, that's how she coaches me on different stuff. Sometimes I'll get an amazing email that pulls all my pain points in my inbox, and I will copy it into ChatGPT and say, break this down for me. Why did I get so affected by this email? And it's such a great way for me to be a better writer. And I'm someone who's been writing for over 25 years, and I feel quite competent, but it has made me better because it's pulling on stuff that's outside of what my normal style is, and it does help me kind of work that through. I do have a question, which isn't on my list, just because it just occurred to me. So you do welcome sequences. If that person just does that, are you happy with them doing that, or do you actually suggest that they also then start emailing that person on a regular basis?
So typically, my suggestion is, and I have a package for this, the combined email strategy and welcome sequence. So my preference is to do that, because then you've got all the information, all the detail on who their target audience is and all that kind of stuff. I dive deep into their data. I dig through their data. I pull it all together, and so I have a crisp idea of who's going to care about what they're offering. And also who's engaging with their emails already, what's working, all that kind of stuff. So if they have the strategy, or like if they have that strategy already from like a brand perspective, then that helps. But I'm still going to do research.
But I guess what I mean is that how often would you recommend that people should keep on emailing after they do that welcome sequence? Like, do you recommend that they should?
Yeah, they definitely should be emailing after that welcome sequence. Yeah, absolutely. You can't just have the welcome sequence and then it end. So strategy aside, if they just did the welcome sequence, or even if they did the strategy as well, I actually refer people on to a virtual assistant that can help them, or if they've already got one, then we can work on something else. But I tend to refer on those clients so that they have that, because you do need that weekly email, whether you're going to do it or whether somebody else is going to do it. You need to continue that relationship.
I read a really cool thing in a Donald Miller book that he was talking about how, and I'm not encouraging everyone to do crappy emails, but he basically said your emails can be essentially shit. I don't think he used the word shit. He's a bit more polite than me. But essentially your emails could be shit. The email isn't meant to be something that has to be amazing quality. It's the fact that it's in their inbox every week that makes a difference. And I obviously don't want anyone to do a shitty email, and don't use ChatGPT for the subject line, because honestly, if you've got one of those in my inbox, I either unsubscribe or I'm a turn off. But often it is just the subject line in your inbox is enough for that person to go, oh, I need you this week. Like it's basically a McDonald's recency advertising campaign where you're chucking it on your virtual bus stop as they're driving along and they see your name and go, oh, yeah, I need you this week. That's what it's for, really, isn't it? A lot of the time for email.
Yes, I'd say that's a good starting point, I would say. So why I suggest the referral to make sure you get those emails going out is basically you've got a solution to your problem of getting those weekly emails out. You get the visibility, but also by sending those emails, you learn more about your audience, and then somebody like me can come in and help audit. And then when you get to the stage where, like, if you're writing them yourself, just sending them is enough.
I don't think it's enough. Like, let me clarify. I have a specific strategy I teach my clients, which gets great conversions, which is a customer journey, every weekly sort of thing. I'm just saying that you can get results even if someone doesn't open your email.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, but I'm just trying to say to people, the impact of email is actually so powerful that you can get a result even if someone doesn't open the email. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. Because I agree with you. I don't want people to not open my emails. What I do find interesting, though, in behavior is quite often I'll have someone who opens an email and then they go and they read like 6 at the same time. So I do find like your emails do have to be of a good quality, and the fact that if it's hitting someone, they will go and seek out the rest of your emails. I see it quite often like in my email software where I'll see someone open one and they haven't opened for a while because maybe they haven't noticed them, and they open, then you see open this email, open last week's, open the one before, and they've gone back to hunt through to read stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, to clarify, email is my jam. So I'm definitely not going to be saying, I'm just saying that it's so powerful that even just the fact that you send the email can get you growth.
Absolutely, yeah. We 100% agree on that.
Actually, on this, can we do a technical question? So one of the things I've been talking about with my clients is the whole Apple open thing and open rates and why we can't rely just on open rates. Do you want to go over, do you understand that stuff? And yeah, because you're a scientist, right? So can you go through that with us?
Yeah, sure. So basically, when you are deciding whether your email is good enough, or when you're measuring the effectiveness of your email and you're going, oh, great, well, I've got a great open rate, that's not enough. because the changes with Apple is, which was earlier, so this has been going on for a while, basically inflate your open rate. So your email gets sent out. There's a few other steps, but basically, if it's opened by an Apple client, it's going to preload your email. So it looks like they've opened, but they've not opened it. So,
but it counts as an open rate, eh?
Exactly. So click rate, I prefer click rate. You can get bots that inflate that, but I would always prefer click rate over open rate.
And let's just talk about, so open rate means looking at how many people open. So I actually was watching, the reason I love this is I know of a marketing strategist who was using the example of their amazing open rate as a reason why you should use them. And I was like, two things. One, I need to know how big your email list is, because if you have a list under 1,000, you can potentially get a 50% open rate, but as soon as it starts getting over that, it's going to drop. And actually, statistically, it should be sitting around that 25-30. So if it's a lot higher than that, and you've got like a massive email list, it's definitely an Apple thing. Like, it's just statistically. Because if you're sitting to a big group of people, even if you've got like a good email provider, not all those emails are getting delivered. So it's just impossible.
There's statistics online. There's a particular website that can tell you how many, so your platform, MailerLite, MailChimp or whatever, has like a typical delivery rate. And so that varies. So
MailChimp's terrible. MailChimp's terrible, just so everyone knows. It's one of the things I don't like about it. Yeah. But it's like, look, it could happen to anyone. It could happen to MailerLite, because the more people that move over to MailChimp, from MailChimp to MailerLite and then use MailerLite wrong, it can happen there. I mean, they're trying to protect it. One of the reasons we use ActiveCampaign is historically it's had great deliverability, but it's had a few problems here and there, and it's back. But they do change, and it depends who's using it that actually impacts that.
Yes. So basically, you use like it's like a shared base, let's call it. And everybody that is in your little kind of group that you can't see behind the scenes on your MailerLite platform or whatever, it's split into little groups. And everyone that's in your little group, if you've got a whole lot of spammers that happen to be in there with you,
you're screwed. Yeah.
So your domain needs to be really good. Your email marketing platform needs to have really good deliverability, as well as your own deliverability, which involves sending good emails.
Yes, so it's like a whole bunch of stuff. And can I ask a question, because you used click-through rate, and I know what that means, but do you want to explain it to everyone in really nice language, like simple language, what that means?
Yeah. So click-through rate is I'm going to admit I suck at remembering anything that is to do with numbers. Like, I love data, but
it's okay. I have the same problem with many things. Don't worry. So it's the percentage of how many people. So if you had 100 people and you have a 3.2% click-through rate, that means that 3.2 people. So that's not going to work. So if you had a 3% click-through rate on 100 people, it means 3 people from that email clicked your link to wherever, clicked a link on your on your email. But you can also get different click-through rates for different things. So we did one, I did one with a client, and we were looking at a few things, and she had put so many bloody call to actions on her thing. But one of them had like a 25% click-through rate, which was really high, and then everything else was super low. So we're like, this is the thing that your customers actually really wanted to know about. So that was like good data.
Yeah.
But then she also got told off for having all the options, because it was too many options.
That is, I see that all the time. Yeah. Too many options.
Yeah.
They just want to deliver so much.
Oh, they do. So before someone working with you, I guess they really need to understand a lot about their own customer, because like you can do a strategy, but they need to understand what their offer is, like what they really want to sell, and who their customer is, and probably have had a little think about what their lead generation is. Like, you can maybe suggest some stuff, but maybe they've already thought about that stuff. That's what they need.
Yeah. So they have to have they have to be relatively established. Like, you don't want to come to me on day one and go, right, I've just opened my business, I'm starting, build me a sequence. It's like you have no data for me to go off. You're better off with somebody, especially because my niche is quite narrow. You're better off with a different person before me. But once you're established and you have a certain amount that I can dig into, yes, I can come up with ideas, but at the same time, I prefer a slightly more established business to get the best return. Like, I want my clients to succeed, and so they need to be at a certain point.
Love it. So if someone was just starting from scratch and they were doing themselves initial one, is there anything that you'd like them to know if they were going to create something themselves, if they were right in that beginning stages before they were coming to see you? Is there any big advice that you'd give them around this sort of stuff?
Yeah. So I would say get started, to be honest. I would say you don't have to worry about perfection in the beginning. So you want to get to know your audience. You want to start building that foundation. Perhaps you'll start building your broader business through networking first, and record the conversations that, write notes on the conversations or the questions that people are asking you and everything like that. All that kind of stuff helps build your business. As far as email is concerned, get the foundation set up. You need a source of traffic. So you need your website set up. You need your social media set up. And just take it in bite-sized chunks. You can't do everything overnight. Like, I'm in the process of, I've worked in-house and now I'm setting out my business.
It's so much work.
Oh, it's massive. It's massive. Yeah. And you can just get so overwhelmed with everything.
You can't do it all. I always think it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I always say things like, look, we loaded up, we did our websites late last year. They'd been on a list to do since January the previous year. So that took a long time to do. And then I was working with a client today and we were doing some stuff around analysis on their website, which about Hotjar and stuff. And I went, oh, here, I'll show you ours. And I showed it and realized that we haven't moved it across to the new website. So it hasn't been doing anything for 8 weeks. I don't know. Because it's just another thing. Like, you miss stuff. It's a big job. Marketing's a big job.
It's massive, massive, especially with social media.
Yeah. Systems are good. Systems are repeated. Okay, so if people, I would love it if you could share your 47 ways to grow your email list lead gen, and I'll pop it in the show notes because I think it would be a really great thing for people to read. Besides that, if people wanted to get hold of you, how do they find you?
So besides that, I would say I'm at tiffanydigital.co.nz. That's my website. You can find me on LinkedIn, Tiffany Bartlett NZ, and then on Instagram, I'm Tiffany Digital NZ. So
nice. Thank you so much. It's been really cool, and I love that we both realised that we've got into some things around different ways of doing it. I like the way that we talked about the fact that you call it a welcome sequence and I have another term for that and I call it a nurture sequence. I think it's good because it is so easy to get confused with terminology, and so it's really important when you're talking to an expert to find out what they're going to deliver you, because it sounds different on the tin, right? So it's so good. Whereas other people would call it like a lead magnet sequence. Like, people have different names for it. So, and I don't call it a lead magnet. I call it a lead generation. So it's so important when you're working with someone who's an expert to ask the questions to kind of work that out as well. And thank you so much for being here and talking it through. It's been really awesome.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to talk to you.
Yay, I loved it. It was great, Tiffany. It was awesome. And for those of you that are listening, a little ad from me. We have our 2-day events this year, the Content Marketing Accelerator and the Map It Marketing Intensive. They're both approved through the regional business partners. So you may be able to get some funding to help come and attend. But I'd love to talk to you if you'd like to. They're going to be in the Waikato, Auckland in 2 places, and in Canterbury. So people are flying to them, guys. So you can come and fly to one too if you'd like to, but come and have a chat to me if you'd like some help around your marketing. And otherwise, have a great week, and I'll be back next week with you. And thanks again, Tiffany. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you.